The envelope had been sitting unopened on the corner of my desk for a week, heavy cream cardstock with gold foil script. Alejandro and Marisol Reyes invite you to celebrate 40 years of marriage. I finally RSVPed yes. Out of guilt? Curiosity? Maybe both. The dinner was tonight. In less than 2 hours, Techline Weekly would drop the exclusive. Rya Capital had acquired a $70 million AI logistics firm, tripling our digital holdings overnight. No one in my family knew I was Rya Capital, not even my cousin, who interned at one of our portfolio companies. As far as they were concerned, I was just Danielle Reyes, the artsy one who opened a boutique brand strategy studio downtown after politely declining to join the family's real estate empire. A text pinged as I zipped my coat. Dinner's at 6 sharp. Don't wear anything too weird. Dad invited the Delgados. Javier. I laughed. Javier, the crown prince of Reyes development, forever micromanaging the family optics. Meanwhile, I had quietly built a $600 million private equity portfolio under a name no one recognized, my mother's maiden name, Danielle Cortez. Not even our family's attorney knew. Reyes family events were always opulent, over the top, and obsessed with image. Tonight's affair was no exception. Rooftop at the Valencia Club, views of the Pacific, and a guest list stacked with San Diego's elite. My driver pulled up behind Javier's perfectly waxed Jaguar. Miss Cortez, Marcus said with a wink, want me to wait? Not tonight, but check the news around 9. At 8:45, the elevator opened into a glittering room full of familiar faces, developers, commissioners, Reyes cousins in designer gowns, all there to toast 40 years of marriage, and quietly measure status. Danielle, my mother air-kissed both cheeks, her gold earrings catching the light. We were certain you'd cancel. Still running that little branding company? Something like that, I said, smiling. She patted my hand. You're 32, sweetheart. Still time to find something secure. Maybe Javier can help you find a role at the firm. I nodded, amused. In just 15 minutes, every phone in this room would buzz with a breaking alert. Javier sauntered over, drink in hand, still playing entrepreneur. Huh? I raised my glass. Cheers to surprises. How's the firm? Expanding, he said, straightening his lapel. Dad's naming me managing partner next month. Youngest ever. The gleam in his eye said it all. Congrats. He leaned closer, cologne thick as ambition. You know that offer still stands. I tilted my head. Offer? Junior associate. You'd have to start at the bottom. Of course, but hey, better than whatever this artsy thing is. I sipped my champagne, letting the silence speak. In less than an hour, my name, Danielle Cortez, would headline every business feed in California. I'm happy where I am. Happy isn't the same as successful, came a voice behind me. My father. I turned. Alejandro Reyes, San Diego's kingmaker, stood beside Javier like a general beside his heir. Impeccable suit, silver at the temples, gaze sharp as ever. He smiled thinly. Though I suppose small business ownership has its charms. Hi, Dad. Happy anniversary. His eyes scanned my dress, understated black Valentino, and his mouth tightened. You could have worn the Gucci we sent last Christmas. This feels more like me. He sighed. That's always been the problem. You've never quite aligned with the Reyes legacy. The room pulsed with conversation, developers, planners, power brokers. Everyone who mattered in the real estate world was here. A hell of a turnout, said a man with a whiskey glass, sidling up to us. Looks like the whole power circle made it. My father brightened. Daniel, meet my daughter. This is the attorney? The man interrupted. My father's smile flickered. No, that's Javier. This is Danielle. She runs a branding firm. I extended my hand. For now, I said. Ah. Danielle said, her tone cooling. Creative. The man didn't catch the shift. Speaking of business, he went on. You hear about that Rya Capital deal? Rumor is they're buying some AI logistics startup. Announcements dropping tonight. CEO's a total mystery. Danielle Cortez. No one's ever seen her. They say she's brilliant. Someone else leaned in. Private. Discreet. Operates through boutique firms to stay invisible. My father chuckled. They've used us, contract work. Nothing serious. I lifted my glass to hide a smirk. I'd hired his firm for crumbs, small filings, minor documents, just enough to keep them guessing. They never knew they were signing off on pieces of my empire. Javier reappeared then, glowing like a chandelier. Speaking of deals, he smiled broadly, loud enough for half the table to hear. I just closed the biggest merger in firm history. The room pivoted toward him like planets to a sun. I checked my phone. 1 hour to go. At the head table, my mother clinked her fork against a crystal glass. Everyone, please, take your seats. Rya's anniversary dinners had always bordered on theater, but this year, it was operatic, hand-carved wood tables, a live quartet, gold-foiled menus, and more wine pairings than anyone could possibly track. Just before dessert, my father rose with his glass. Tonight, we celebrate more than 40 years of marriage. We celebrate partnership, perseverance, and the legacy Marisol and I have built together. Applause rolled through the rooftop like surf. That legacy, he continued, voice thick with pride, lives on in our son, Javier, soon to be the youngest managing partner in Reyes Delgado history. More applause, louder this time. Javier stood, chest puffed, basking in it. And of course, my father added, tone dipping, our daughter, Danielle, who chose a different path. A pause, razor sharp, calculated. She runs a small business, he said, with the kind of smile that called itself supportive, but never quite made it there. I glanced at my phone. 4 minutes. Danielle, my mother whispered, leaning in, at least pretend to listen. This night means a lot to your father. I am listening, I replied smoothly. I'm just waiting on something. A little design job? Javier chimed in. Branding for a taco truck? Something like that, I said lightly. Dinner resumed its usual rhythm, zoning battles, courtroom stories, vintage wine debates. I watched the minutes bleed away. You know, Javier said, louder now, our junior associates earn more in a month than you probably do in a year. Could be, I said, unbothered. I just hate seeing you waste your potential, he added. You could be part of something real, not some artsy boutique hustle. 5 minutes. I turned to him, glass in hand. Actually, I said, voice calm, I am part of something big, very big. Javier laughed. Your 3-person studio on 5th? Please. No, I held his gaze. Much, much bigger. My father's eyes flicked over, sensing something shift. Danielle, he said carefully, this isn't the time. Kabir, swirling his wine, added, not everyone's built for the pressure of real business. There's no shame in staying small. I rose, smoothing the hem of my dress. Excuse me for a moment, I said, I need to take a call. Now? My mother asked, brows knitting. Trust me, I gave a slow, knowing smile. You'll want me to take this call. As I stepped toward the hallway, I heard Javier chuckle. Just a small business owner trying to play with the big kids. I paused, turned back over my shoulder. You might want to turn on CNBC, brother dear. Then I walked out. In the marble hallway, my heart stayed steady. The countdown on my phone ticked down. 3, 2, 1. And then the flood. Alerts, headlines, notifications, one after another. Rya Capital acquires Skyport AI in $70 million deal. Private equity powerhouse Danielle Cortez breaks cover. Mystery VC behind Skyport buyout revealed, it's her. Inside the banquet hall, I heard the gasp, sharp, collective. Someone had CNBC playing on their phone. The anchor's voice cut through the string music. In a surprise announcement, Rya Capital, led by the elusive Danielle Cortez, has acquired Skyport AI in a $70 million 0-cents deal, tripling its digital portfolio and shaking up the logistics sector. I walked calmly back into the room just as Javier sputtered into his champagne. My father, mid-toast, froze. 3 phones lit up across the table. My headshot filled their screens, professional, composed, unmistakable. Danielle Cortez, CEO of Rya Capital. My mother blinked. Danielle, what is this? I picked up my wine glass, perfectly at ease. Oh, this, I said, Just another day at my small business. The table erupted. Lawyers who ignored me minutes ago leaned forward. Real estate giants exchanged glances. City officials stared like they were seeing me for the first time. "You're her, Danielle, my father's senior partner," stammered. "You're Danielle Cortez?" "That's me. But Rya Capital is worth, what, $500 million? Give or take," I said. "Mother's maiden name, if you're wondering." Not that anyone ever paid attention to that side of the family. Javier looked like someone had pulled the ground out from under him. "All this time, we thought you were just running a tiny branding shop." "Exactly," I smiled. "That was the point." I let it land, then added, "If any of you had ever actually visited my office downtown, you might have noticed it wasn't a design studio at all, just a front." My father finally spoke, voice low. Why didn't you tell us?" I met his eyes. "Would you have believed me?" He hesitated. "Of course." I tilted my head, gentle but firm. When I didn't join the firm? When I passed on the Coast project? When I told you I wanted something else?" He looked down. CNBC still glowed from his phone. "You're one of the most successful private investors in the country." "Yes," I said quietly, "and I did it without the Reyes name. Without your network, without needing anyone's permission." My mother's hand trembled slightly as she reached for her glass. "If we'd known, sweetheart, you'd have," I said quietly, "treated me differently, maybe introduced me with pride instead of pity, or not spent years nudging Javier to give me a chance." The string quartet had gone silent, so had the room. My father's meticulously choreographed anniversary dinner had just taken a detour into something raw. Something unscripted. Javier looked dazed. "All those small contracts from Rya Capital. You were a convenient choice," I said evenly. "Close enough to observe, too far to question. You never saw the full picture." I turned to Daniel, the senior partner. "And your legal fees," I added with a faint smile, "are wildly inflated for such routine filings." He leaned forward, faltering. "Danielle, I mean, Miss Cortez, now that everything's out in the open, perhaps we should move your major accounts to Reyes and Delgado. We'd be honored." "No," I cut in, voice cool. "I don't mix family and business. That line was drawn the day I turned down your junior associate offer." My father flinched. "Danielle, come now, surely we can." "What?" I asked. "Rewrite history? Pretend you didn't spend years explaining me away at cocktail parties?" My phone buzzed again and again. Investors, journalists, colleagues, curious cousins who had barely remembered my birthday. I silenced it all. "I don't live in a mansion. I don't drive something engineered for attention," I said, "because I'm not chasing validation. I'm building value, quietly, relentlessly." Javier stood, rattled. "I need a drink." "Sit down," I said, firm and sharp. "For once in your life, listen to the sister you tried to coach into mediocrity." He sat. "My company's value will spike tomorrow," I continued. "Reporters will call. Clients will ask about your connection to me." I looked straight at my father. "And they'll want to know how the Reyes family produced someone like me." He met my eyes. "And what do we tell them?" I adjusted the neckline of my dress and stood tall. "Tell them the truth," I said, "that while you were protecting the Reyes name, your daughter was quietly building an empire. No handouts, no shortcuts, no name to lean on but my own." I reached for my clutch. "And now, if you'll excuse me, I have a merger to close." I walked to the edge of the room, then paused, just long enough to let the weight of the moment settle over them. "Happy anniversary, Mom, Dad." The dinner was beautiful. My mother's voice, small but urgent, cut through the stillness. "Wait, Danielle, can we talk, as a family?" I turned back. "Just once." "We are talking, for the first time in years. You're listening now." I scanned the room, the Legacy Club, old judges, old money, glasses still trembling on white linen. "Amazing, isn't it?" I said. "What $500 million can do for someone's voice." Behind me, I heard Javier whisper, stunned, "Jesus, my little sister is Danielle Cortez." Outside, my driver stood by the SUV, expression calm and unsurprised. "Home, Miss Cortez?" he asked. I shook my head. unlocking my phone, where 47 missed calls blinked back at me. Most were from the same people who'd once called me lost. No, I said. Take me to the office. The real one. The next morning, I sat in my penthouse suite, sunlight cutting across the city skyline. Rya Capital had jumped 15% before noon. Skyport AI was everywhere, from Bloomberg to tech podcasts. The intercom buzzed. My apologies, Ms. Cortez. My assistant said, your father, brother, and 3 senior partners from Reyes and Delgado are here. I glanced at the gold-accented nameplate on my desk. Danielle Cortez, CEO. Tell them I'm in a meeting, I said. They can request an appointment, like everyone else. She hesitated. Your mother's called 6 times. Tell her I'm busy. Running a small business takes effort. You know how it is. I turned toward the window, toward the city I'd taken without permission, without applause. My phone buzzed again. A text from Javier. Can we talk, please? I had no idea. I typed. No one did. That was the point. Because real success doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for recognition. It builds brick by quiet brick until one day, they realize too late what you've become. And as I scrolled past headlines naming me the most enigmatic force in West Coast capital, I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Because the best revenge isn't saying, I told you so. It's letting them choke on their certainty. Over wine they poured to toast themselves. If you've ever been underestimated by your family, your job, or the world, I see you. Tell me, when did you realize your worth? Or are you still waiting for someone else to say it first? Let me tell you what I've learned. You don't owe updates. You don't owe proof. You don't need permission. And you definitely don't need their applause. All you need is clarity, a vision, and the patience to build in silence. Because when you finally arrive, you won't have to explain a thing. You'll just walk in, and they'll recognize you too late. Not because you told them. Because now, they can't ignore you.